Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. Happy Friday everyone. I hope your guys' weekend is off to a great start. We are back at it with some live readings. So if you're watching me, I'm live on Friday, October the 4th, 2024. Give me a thumbs up and say hello in the chat if you were watching for the live show. Excited to be back. We're doing tarot readings. In order to get a reading, you guys can sign up and get in the queue by scanning the QR code. That's going to take you to my PayPal, and we're doing 1 or 3 card readings. $20 donation for 1 card, $40 for a 3 card spread. Any one question I'm happy to answer. Put your info in the memo box in PayPal, or we also take super chats if you guys are on YouTube. Let's see what else. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. It's the top of the month, so we do have to say thank you to all of our members, everybody who supports me as a full-time content creator. You guys may or may not know, but I have memberships for 3 different levels. Level 1, you're going to get the opportunity to support my content. If you like my long-form content, you like my horoscopes, my videos, you can support me by getting in on level 1. Level 2, you get that and you get a shout out from me. And level 3, you're going to get a reading from me once a month during one of my lives on Fridays. So it's a great way to support the channel as well as get a reading. Level 3 people always get kind of picked up first. You don't have to wait in as long of a line for a reading. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who is a member on my channel. People like Christine, Erica, Grow Up Together, Victoria, Thunder Spooks, Deanna, Enchanted Crossroads, Sharon, Emma, Taliba, Susan Wexler. We've also got Darlene, Laverne, Cece, Claire, Dorothy, Jen, Rosary, Lisa, Smoky Brown Eyes, JS, Renee, Blue Wellness Coach, Let Your Light Shine, Salty Mama Soul Tribe, Jessica Martinez, Shay, Ronnie, Paula, Flowing Through the Pines, Vanessa, Stephanie, Willow, and Carolina. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. I appreciate it. And if you happen to be a level 3 member and you would like to get a reading, you can cash in on your reading if you'd like now, or you can join me next week for astrology. And obviously we'll be back here pretty much almost every Friday. I think there is one that I'm going to be missing because I'm going to be out of town, but we will be here, so don't worry. What's up, Melissa? Hey, Paula. I am feeling better. I had an unfortunate bout with food poisoning, and it was like a bummer because it wasn't even in an adventurous way. It wasn't like it was like a taco truck or anything. It was like a donut, and I should have known better, and I ate it anyway, and somehow it managed to put me down for a couple days. So I am doing better. Thank you for asking. Anyways, so Paula is here. I'm happy to give you a reading, Paula. And I've got in the queue Paula G and Emiko. So is that the same Paula? Is it the same Paula? Because I just want to make sure that it wasn't somebody different. So just let me know. Let me know your question if you happen to be a level 3 person here. What's up, Sonia? Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And if you want to get a reading, you can get in the queue. You can scan the QR code. If this is your first time getting a reading, basically you're going to hear me calling out names. It's just me letting you know that you're on deck and you're going to be one of the next people who is going to be getting a reading. So if you hear your name, that means that you're kind of coming up. And you can always play back these videos, so you can come back if you can't wait for your reading. You can watch it at a later time. Once we're no longer live, you'll be able to come back and watch it. And you can leave comments on the readings as well. Sometimes I get people who leave comments like months later after some of the stuff has played out, and they come back to the reading and they give me feedback. All right. What's up, Deanna? She said, I sent my retreat email on the 3rd and have 1 deposit already. Love it. Definitely some good astrology yesterday. There's going to be a couple trines between Mercury and Jupiter and Sun and Jupiter. So we're going to see a couple other great communication days this month. But aside from that, like mid-October into November, it gets a little spicy. All right, Paul, I'm happy to do your reading. Did you have a particular question or you just want a general 3 card reading? What's up, Salty Mama? Those of you guys who are just checking in, we just did a big thank you and a shout out to all of the level 2 and 3 people. So you guys got your shout outs. Just want to let you know. All right, so we're gonna start with Paula. I don't know if Amiko is here, but Amiko, if you're here, I've got you as well. So let's see what the tarot has to say for Paula this evening. All right, so this is for you, Paula. 1, 2, 3, in this order. All right, 7 of Cups, 2 of Cups, 5 of Cups. Lots of cups going on here, my dear. All right, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, a lot of vibes. Obviously, cups deal with feeling, intuition, relationships, partnerships, emotions. All right, so we've got the 7 of Cups in the previous position, which does talk about feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes it's about too many options, confusion, too many scenarios, too many different potential outcomes, and also like proceeding forward with caution when it comes to making decisions. And that can be with relationships, or not seeing so clearly in regards to a relationship, or feeling overwhelmed in regards to a relationship currently. It does seem to be more revolving around somebody who you're either in partnership with or somebody who you've been very close to. And it can be confusing, revolving around, well, are we going to make amends, or are we going to be able to overcome, not seeing eye to eye in a situation? It can be talking about two people who are also like not seeing the situation very clearly, because the 7 of Cups does talk about all of the different perspectives and potential ways that something could be perceived, and how you might see a situation or a relationship dynamic differently from another person, and that there can be lots of mixed emotions coming up about how this may potentially kind of unfold. Then you have the 2 of Cups, which is the relationship partnership card. So that's why I'm saying, like, it's either somebody who you've been very close to, or this is somebody who you're in relationship with, or somebody who can feel like a really close like friend or family member. It is a man and a woman, so it can be talking about you and a relationship with another man. And the 2 of Cups in the current position is about being open to, balance, diplomacy, coming together, reunion, connection, partnership, and support. So there is some energy right now revolving around being able to smooth this over and like make amends and have a better understanding, or maybe, one party is more so open to reconciling than the other person right now, and trying to focus on the relationship and trying to like overcome some of the issues that have happened, or even overlook some of the things that have kind of gone on between the two of you. And then you have the 5 of Cups coming up. And so the 5 of Cups is a card that does talk about like disappointment, right? And just to kind of show you what's interesting, you have the 7 of Cups, you have the 2, and then you have the 5. Both of these are 7s, right? So it can be, once again, playing off of relationship issues revolving around both parties not seeing eye to eye, or not seeing from the same perspective, and something being skewed, and like there being a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, and not seeing where the other person is coming from. So a lot of it is going to be about perspective. But the 5 of Cups is a card that you need to be careful with, because this can be a card that can indicate like grief and loss, or depression, or getting stuck in a situation. The 5 of Cups always shows somebody with this cloak like wrapped around them. So it can be saying they're shielding themselves with some heavy emotions, or from somebody, not telling them everything that's going on. And behind them you have 2 cups, and then the 3 cups that are spilled in front of them. So this is my crying over spilled milk card. When this comes up, I always tell my clients, like, be really careful how long you stay in this situation. There can be a tendency of getting so frustrated and so upset revolving around what's not working, or where you're not feeling supported, or where there isn't kind of partnership coming in, or maybe what you're not getting. And then behind you, you have the opportunity, 2 of Cups, for connection, reunion, like support, right? And so sometimes when this card pops up, it's also like reminding my client that people don't know what you've got going on. Like, they're not aware of if you're having some kind of stress, or some kind of issue, or crisis, or worry, or maybe you're concealing your emotions or your feelings, and like other people don't really know how you feel. And through kind of protecting yourself with that, you know, you're not really allowing yourself to be able to put yourself out there and like be vulnerable and tell other people what you've got going on or what you're kind of dealing with secretly or privately behind closed doors. So once again, there is like this sense of what you're projecting or what you're showing other people versus like what you're dealing with in the background, like privately. And that Two of Cups is really trying to encourage you right now to come together with other people and be able to kind of share something and be vulnerable with someone else, and like the opportunity for enriching that relationship through either, you know, telling them how you're feeling, or maybe it's about being like, hey, I'm not, you know, emotionally, I'm not doing well. And like, I really am struggling with this situation and I need support. And the Two of Cups can be somebody who's coming in that's really helping you with the process of being able to feel supported, and the emotional benefits, right? The spiritual benefits also that can kind of come in with the cups. Somebody like refilling your own cup or kind of helping prop you up and support you. And you're the one who's used to doing this for other people. So it can be like a very enriching period in a relationship that can allow the two of you guys to come together closer through transparency and vulnerability. Obviously, we've got some clouds, we've got some gray skies. So this does also kind of talk about like there is like a change, like there's a tide change that's happening right now with some of like the weather in your life, and that you may feel like you're going through a time where things are a little gloomy, right? And like there could be some storms, or there is some difficult emotions that you're kind of overcoming. But it's important to not shut yourself out from relationship from this other person, to not cut yourself off, to not put yourself in a position of like further isolating yourself, even though you might think that you're doing it because you're protecting yourself. That doing that is actually going to put you kind of deeper or further in a hole and make it harder for you then to kind of reconnect. So this is about staying open, or being kind of heart-centered, and maybe still keeping like an open door policy with connection to this other person, or invitation to kind of have them participate in your life. So that way you're not feeling like you're isolated in the situation, right? Hopefully that's helpful in giving you some insight. I feel like that is the theme of October 2024, guys. All these planets in Libra squaring off with Mars, where it's definitely a lot of like emotional stuff with home and family. And then obviously Libra is relationships. And then we see stuff that's going to start kind of squaring Pluto and opposing Pluto, which is big changes revolving around like power struggles. And that can be in relationships or with our home, our families, our careers. And that is definitely happening for you, right? And I think I remember saying to you, like having Jupiter in your sign this year, it does bring more aid and support from partnerships, because it's your 7th house Lord. The key here is not feeling like you have to take everything on, like on your own, you know, and like learning to kind of be putting yourself in a position of being like, okay, I don't have to kind of keep to myself or figure it all out, you know. It's about putting it all out there and being vulnerable with other people and allowing them to step up and support you. So I hope that that's helpful. I wonder who that is, right? Obviously I'm thinking of it being more than potentially one relationship, but that can be in correlation with like a family member. That can also be revolving around like work. So one of those two areas definitely can get hit. Let me know how that helps, what you need from me. If you need any feedback. Looks like we've got Emiko, we've got Silk, Kaja, and Victoria. Who is this? Oh, come on, PayPal. Come on. It looks like I got something from Melissa. Who is this? I don't recognize that amount. Is there a Melissa in here? Let me see. Let me scroll through this. Thank you. Salty Mama's here. You're like a cherub. Thank you, Melissa. I call it resting cherub face. I appreciate you. Oh, so that must have been you that sent that. Let me know if you have a question. I'd be happy to do a reading for you for your generosity. Thank you. All right, so with that being said, we've got Emiko, Melissa, if you have a question, I'm happy to answer it for you. Silk, you guys are all on deck. Emiko, let's see what we got going on here. I was reading your question earlier.
Boy, oh boy. PayPal does not want to work tonight, huh? It's a good thing I read that in advance. So just kind of running through what you said. So there's change that's going on, obviously, with your work hours. I'm sorry to hear you said that there's been some stress revolving around finances, trying to work on getting your art out. And you said that you recently had a car accident, and so you're kind of trying to figure out how to navigate some of this stuff because it's creating some added financial stress. What's up, Blue? And I'm just trying to go off of memory because PayPal's not working, of course. So let me know if I miss anything, and let's see what the cards say. What can we tell Emiko about this situation involving all of these things, trying to get their art out, navigating some financial stress, especially with shorter work hours and this recent accident? Yes, and boy trouble. Right, and boy trouble. Let's see what the cards say. Well, to be honest with you, these are some pretty decent cards. Right, that's right, Pisces rising. So what's interesting is like the boy trouble, you know, and I'm saying this because you have the Hermit card. The boy trouble is stemming from the fact that you are now seeing polarity from the Pisces eclipses from Virgo to the Pisces incoming North Node, right? So just, I would say this to any Pisces Sun, Pisces rising, like the next 2 years, South Node eclipse is going through your 7th house is going to be showing you like where you're in situations where you may be feeling like on one hand, there's karma in relationships, there's some soulmate stuff, there's some back and forth with people, there's people from the past coming back, there's people who are past life related that are coming in. And even though Virgo can be about support and details and clarity and making sense, when the South Node goes through there, we're not going to feel it as much, right? So the North Node going through Pisces next year, Saturn going through Pisces, Neptune going through Pisces is like for a Pisces rising, like putting your oxygen mask on first, right? It's self-preservation 101. So seeing the Hermit card pop up in the previous position is really kind of like highlighting that there's something that's going on revolving around you being like, you know what, I'm turning within. I'm not waiting for other people to kind of figure out, you know, when they're ready or if they've chosen me. You're like, what's going on or like what the deal is with that. I'm focusing more on, you know, what I need, my path, what I'm needing to be working on, what I need to be healing, what I need to be focusing on. And this can also be about a moment of clarity. Like I kind of see like the Hermit card and the Fool card being one and the same almost. The only difference is that by the time the Fool gets to the Hermit, it's either him evolving into somebody who is a little bit wiser, a little bit more capable, a little bit better experienced, or he's coming into contact with somebody who is teaching him to like go within, right? So this does talk about Virgo energy. This also does talk about, you know, you're saying he's a what is he saying? He's a Pisces. He's a Leo, chose a Pisces sun over me while flirting with me. Okay, got it. I think about like, you know, Leos in general, like the fact that they're going to go through the Mars retrograde in opposition to Pluto. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. And if he's a Leo, you've got a Page of Wands kind of popping up. So this is in the right now position where maybe there's been some reflection on what's happened, some awareness, kind of like reflecting on the situation and asking yourself, like, is this really what I want? Like, is this creating a feeling of like lack or like not being good enough? Page of Wands, like you guys know how I feel about pages. Pages are children. This is youthful energy. This is immaturity. Like that's what these are. So if you're dealing with the Leo and the Page of Wands is coming up, it can be saying that the way that he's going about navigating the situation or handling the situation can be in a more youthful, creative, fun way, but it can also be in a way that's like it's a little immature, right? And the Page of Wands is somebody who is here for the excitement. They're here for the experience. They're not necessarily somebody who is completely committed yet. They're not devoted yet. You don't really start to see that until you're getting into like the Knights and also the Queens, right? So this is saying he's still figuring things out, whether it's with that other person or in relation to you. Pages also, when they come up in the Right Now card, it's saying that this is a very creative period for you. You may not feel that, but this is about reigniting inspiration, creativity. This is the element of fire. So this is about getting you back on track and being more consistent or feeling more so inspired when it comes to creating, moving your body, playing, you know, really expressing yourself. And so maybe this shift away from this person has been kind of a bummer, but there's been this feeling of like having to deal with more, you know, of your to-do list, or focusing more on work, or maybe there's been like more busy work. Like that's definitely the Hermit card. But now there is this sense of being like, you know what, I can make lemonade in the situation. Like I can have something that's a little bit more lighthearted right now. I can have something that's like a little bit more fun. It doesn't have to be super committed. There can be also like this sense of you feeling like you're willing to take more risks when it comes to your creative endeavors. And the King of Cups coming up in the future position, actually, I see that as like a different person. I see that as there being more, for you, emotional security, and like being more so kind of in touch with your emotional needs, and also being able to really express yourself better and having better boundaries with other people, and like protecting your heart more. Because the Kings are about mastering an energy. The Kings can also be about like a king coming in, right? So like if you're saying I'm having boy problems, and I see like the Hermit card and the Page of Wands coming up, I'm like, well, there's been this feeling of like, you know, doubting yourself or not feeling good enough or having something temporarily, and it doesn't really like turn into anything, and then moving away from that. And then where you're going is more like the King of Cups, which is you could be bringing in a water sign. So it could be a Pisces, a Scorpio, a Cancer. Generally, the King of Cups is somebody who you will meet either around their birthday time. So it could be like around, you know, the season of Scorpio, could be around the season of Pisces. Obviously, you have Pisces placements, you're going to track that too. I find that they're also generally around water. Like the King of Cups could be somebody who you meet at a bar, a restaurant, you know, when you're going to grab a cup of coffee. Like you meet them when you are, you know, engaging with other people who you're already kind of like friendly or in relationship with, or this could be a connection that comes through a friend. But from where you've been to where you're going, you know, like the King of Cups definitely talks about like having better emotional connections with somebody, and like somebody who's more mature, or somebody who you end up meeting by the beach, near water, on water. They work by water, they perform by water, like something like that is kind of coming up. So I would be looking for that more like around Scorpio season. And I also think that, you know, being a Pisces rising, you know, you're going to have an extended period of time where Mars is going to be in your 5th house. So this is going to be like almost like 6 months between the Mars retrograde and all this stuff for you to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to get creative. I'm getting back into creating. I'm getting back into painting. I'm getting back into drawing, designing, back into dating, right? Like it could be a really nice extended period. Like if I think of all the places where if you have to have like a Mars retrograde, I would rather be in the 5th house, because you're going to have more fun, you know, and you're going to be able to go back to some of those projects that you haven't been able to finish, and you're going to have some time to kind of dedicate a little bit more to it. And it's going to trine Saturn in your sign several times. It's going to trine Neptune in your sign several times. So it's great for your vision and like bringing clarity and commitment to what you're creating, and being able to be clear with people about what it is that you're looking for, like what your heart needs. So I think that Scorpio season could be kicking that off for you, for sure. I definitely feel like there may be opportunities also revolving around having legal support, if that, God forbid, comes up with some of the stuff revolving around like the car accident, and also for having support that can be coming through spiritually, or some kind of like spiritual practice, or like working with like a guru or a teacher, or maybe you're following like a spiritual practice or like an author's kind of like recommendations for meditation, reflection, dealing with change. Like that kind of stuff also can be really supportive for you throughout this transit. So a lot of it's about getting in touch with your emotions, but I wouldn't worry so much about where you've been, and you know, not to like point blame or anything, but I think of like if you're dealing with a Leo, knowing that Mars is going to go retrograde in opposition to Pluto, a lot of Leos are going to be in situations with people where partners are going to be like, you know, I've changed, or this doesn't work for me. You know, you need to go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out your life before I'm ready to kind of work with you. So if for whatever reason he comes back around, keep in mind that there is a need for you to really reflect on what has happened and kind of keep some space open for who might be kind of coming into your life. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. Kelly says, how long is the queue? David is here. What's up, David? What's up, Rob? Rob is here. All right, let's see. Venus is already in Scorpio, actually. So it's already doing its thing, especially for the water signs. Not an easy place though, but the next 2 days, Venus and the moon are gonna align. They're gonna trine with Mars and Saturn. So like Saturday and Sunday, it gets kind of sexy. All right, so we've got Melissa. Did you have a question? We have Melissa, Silk, Kadia, Victoria, Melody, Rebecca. Let's see if she had a question. I'm just happy to support you. Well, I appreciate that. Well, I will. Thank you, appreciate it. I will do a reading for you anyway, and let's see what your cards say, Melissa. I love that you sent all those 11s. That's my birthday. People always say they see 1111. I'm like, yeah, but like I always see 1111. It's always been like that. I feel like it was before it was popular. All right. Let's see what the cards have to say for Melissa. In this order, try to put them together so you can see. Okay, so we've got the Devil, the Seven of Coins, the Nine of Wands, the Knight of Wands, and the Hierophant. It's really interesting because to me, like when I just look at the cards and like the way that they kind of evolve, like I like to read tarot like I'm telling a story. Like it's almost like, have you seen when people, you know, create like all of like the flow where they put all the scenes out before they like actually film or, you know, put together or produce a movie? I don't know what the term of that is called, but that's kind of how I read tarot. So I look at like the Devil and the Seven of Coins being in the past position, like representing basically weighing your options and going back and forth and thinking about whether or not something is still a good investment of your time. Storyboarding, thank you. So like there is this sense of you being like, this is where I've always been, this is what I've always done. And the Devil can represent a habit, it can represent a job, it can represent something that has always felt like it's got some kind of weight on top of you or like limitation or something that has always, yeah, like almost had its claws in you, right? This can also be talking about the Capricorn area of your chart where Pluto is right now in the final throes. It can be talking about Pisces where Saturn is in your chart because this has a kind of a connection to both Saturn as well as Capricorn. So there is something that's like kind of saying like, you know, I have made a lot of sacrifices, or I have been playing it, you know, like safe, or I have been not allowing myself to kind of outgrow or move out of the confines of like this particular limiting energy or belief. There's something that's been holding me back, right? So, you know, the Seven of Coins is like now looking at the situation and being like, is the time now? Do I have the wherewithal? Do I have the will? Do I have the energy? Do I have the capability of actually finally moving away from this? If I do, is it going to pay off for me? Is it going to be something that's going to help me and benefit me? The Nine of Wands makes me feel like this has been like a soul or like a solo mission. Nine of Wands is about kind of feeling like overwhelmed and beat up and like, you know, being challenged to overcome some of these situations where you felt like maybe you were the only one who was going to kind of rescue yourself or pull yourself out of it. This is also about like surveying basically like everything that's happened and the damage of what's played out over a long period of time and kind of saying to yourself like, okay, you know, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, or, you know, I got to this point, now I'm recognizing that, you know, I have to kind of commit to finishing this off and really kind of cutting off certain habits, relationships, things that are not allowing me to basically be free, right? Then we have the Knight of Wands coming up with the Hierophant, which to me is talking about more where you've been and now where you're going. So these are more future related cards. The Knight of Wands can be talking about a newfound sense of like energy. There can be more momentum, enthusiasm, feeling inspired. This can also be talking about trips, traveling, messages that are coming up for you, some kind of good news revolving around proceeding forward, overcoming challenges, going back and forth also with a fire sign. So it can be about a Aries, a Sag, or a Leo. The potential for being able to move forward and committing to something much more serious now, or being seen in a position where now you're moving ahead when it comes to your faith, or you're moving ahead when it comes to your professional status. Like the Hierophant is seen as the guru, the mentor, the sage. It's a professional. So it's like if this card were to come up, it also comes up for somebody who's like a doctor, a lawyer, a priest, somebody who is seen, at least out in society, as somebody who has something reputable to be able to kind of give back. They're a leader of some kind. So the way that I see this is like, I've been through some challenges, but I was able to kind of overcome and pull myself out of it. And now that I'm coming out the other side, I feel inspired to like go and share my story, or to be an advocate for other people, or like this has made me want to go back to school and like get into something that's going to be about helping and assisting other people. Or now that I've overcome some of these challenges, I'm going to be a mentor, or I'm going to be a teacher, or I'm going to be somebody who's going to aid in other people's situations when they need help. Teaching through example, right? And this may also mean that you're having to travel to do this in some capacity. I think that this is also, with the Hierophant, very strongly tied generally to like faith and religion. Like this is generally seen as like the Pope. So, the Hierophant was seen as the person who's the go-between, basically between God and mortals, right? So when the Knight of Wands comes up with the Hierophant, this also means that you're also somebody who's acting almost as like a messenger for the higher realms, right? So you might not necessarily be somebody who's like really crazy religious. You could be, and if that's the case, then you're like spreading the gospel, and telling people about how you've been born again and how you've been saved, and like that's part of your purpose now, is like going and doing that. But this could mean that because of the experiences that you've had and what you've overcome, it's inspiring you to be like, I want to be a coach, or I want to get out there and I want to be a mentor, or I'm going to help people get sober, or I'm going to go and start relaying messages and be talking to people about like, spirituality and faith and like what you believe in, and like helping other people kind of like find the light, right? She says, I'm a witch, baby girl. She's out of the broom closet. But there is still this sense of you feeling like you need to share this information with other people. And I feel like there's something very inspiring about where you've been over the last 7 to 9 years, because that time period is what kind of comes up in these cards. And the fact that you've learned a lot, and now that you're coming out the other side of it, you're really feeling inspired to maybe bridge upon some of those experiences and then go like, okay, how can I make this work for me? How can I take what I've learned and help other people? I mean, a lot of this is about work, career, reputation, things revolving around making money. And I'm not saying that that's the only incentive, but it is possible that you can take some of these experiences and kind of play off of it and then go, okay, well, here I am. Now I want to be able to, maybe relay messages and help people, or maybe be able to help people heal. And then the exchange that kind of comes from that. Because sometimes when I see the Devil and the 7 of Coins, it's like, you've been in experiences where there has not been a fair exchange for your time or for your energy, right? So maybe you're working jobs where you're not being compensated for what you're doing, or maybe you're working jobs that that your heart's not in, and you know that you could be doing more, that you could be making more. And now there is this new shift in this incentive that's like, you know what, it's not going to get any worse than this. Might as well give it a try and see what happens. Because the Knight of Wands can be somebody who is very inspiring, and it can also be somebody who is very entrepreneurial. This is like somebody who's like, I'm just going to run with this and see what happens. And then the Hierophant is about like giving advice, helping other people, being able to kind of give them perspective and being able to lead them in some way. So I wonder if it's going to materialize as doing some kind of coaching work, right? That's kind of what it reads like to me, and like getting to a point where you're kind of knowing more of your worth and being able to teach through experiences that you've had. So very interesting cards. I hope that that's helpful. I appreciate it. And thank you for your generosity. We got Silk, Kadia, and then Victoria. So if you guys are just joining us, you guys can get a reading. You can scan the QR code over here somewhere. All right, so let's see what Silk says. Thank you. Silk says, I have a crush on this man that works by my gym, and recently we had a brief small talk. Curious, does he have some interest there? How can I increase my chances with this man? Well, can you get some of his hair? Just kidding. Just kidding. Let's see. Let's see, Silk. Is there any shot with the guy who works by the gym? Is there some interest there? Interesting. You get the 8 of Swords crossed with the 6 of Cups. That's a funny combination. I kind of feel like the 8 of Swords makes me feel like this was a situation where somebody was caught off guard. It was like they didn't expect, you know, to have a chit chat. They didn't see it coming, or they weren't really in a situation where they were kind of like anticipating that, or they feel like kind of like ambushed, or they were like, what do I say? You know, or maybe you didn't see yourself talking to them. There is this sense with the 8 of Swords of there being some limitations that are not physical, they're more mental. You know, it could have been like walking away from that situation and being like, oh my God, that girl tried to talk to me and like I didn't know what to say and like we didn't really say much and like, am I going to talk to her again? Because the 6 of Cups comes up kind of crossing this. So there can be this sense of somebody feeling like walking away from the situation that they could have, would have, should have said more, or that they should have found another way to be like, oh, well, let's say, how often do you come here? Let's talk again, or let me get your number. You know, like somebody almost kind of like frozen in fear or feeling kind of like anxious or caught off guard. Do I see that keeping you guys from talking? No, because the 6 of Cups is kind of the confirmation card. So it is saying that there is an opportunity, but it looks like somebody's afraid that they're not going to get another chance to reconnect. And whenever that 8 of Swords comes up, I always tell people like, it's about mental limitations. There's nothing that's keeping you or holding you back from being able to connect with this person again. But I do feel like, you know, both parties kind of walked away being like, coulda, woulda, shoulda said more. So when the chance presents itself, it looks like when you see this person again, or you see that they're working or they're across the street or they're nearby, somebody's not going to see the other person, right? It's going to be like somebody's going to see one and they're going to walk over and talk to them, and the other person is going to be like, whoa. Because the 8 of Swords has somebody who's blindfolded. They can't see who's coming or going. And so it can kind of indicate like, it can be when they least expect it, you're not going to see them, and then boom, they're going to pop up, or they're going to walk over to you and start talking to you. I would put something in motion where you're like, hey, let me get your number, you know, or, you know, let me get your handle, let me follow you on Instagram, whatever. It's one way of communicating or connecting. So that way there isn't this kind of felt leaving or being left hanging vibe with this 8 of Swords. That's like, are they not interested? Did I say something wrong? Find another way to kind of open the door to stay connected or reconnect with that 6 of Cups coming up. So that way you can confirm that there is some interest there. I just think that somebody was kind of caught off guard. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Silk. Let's see. Thank you. We'll see you soon, Melissa. Which season? All right, so we have Kadia says, what should I know about my current situation at work that is being hidden from me, or what should I be made aware of? Ooh, let's take a look. So what is being hidden? What does she not know about? What's being hidden at the current work situation? Please let us know what she needs to be made aware of. Three of Swords, 3 of Wands, 8 of Wands. Girl, do you get the impression that there's like some people that are getting ready to walk? Some people that are not pleased or not happy? 3 of Swords. Okay, this is in the previous position. So this is in the past, whether this is like people who feel like, you know, they've had some hurt feelings. They're not totally happy or thrilled or satisfied with some of like the inner working relationships at work. Maybe people feeling like they haven't been supported, or they're disappointed with some of the communications, relationships, follow-up. You know, Swords is always about information, knowledge, and intellect. It's a very difficult element. And obviously the Three of Swords is like a card that definitely does talk about, you know, heartbreak, disappointment, kind of feeling like you've been done dirty. But this card comes up to be able to clear the air. It's about being able to kind of like treat the issues and like come to terms with where mistakes have been made or people have said or done things that were not very kind, and you move forward from it. So sometimes the Three of Swords I could see as a card that's like somebody says something or does something that is a little gossipy, you know, and then you hear about it, you find out about it, and you're like, oh, you know, like I thought that person had my back. Like, what the heck? She says, yep, that's me. That's just me, it feels like. Okay, so Three of Wands is about being like, something has happened. Am I going to move on from it, or am I moving away, right? So both of these are kind of moving cards. Three of Wands is usually about being like, I'm gonna keep it moving. Like I'm gonna pick myself up and keep moving. I'm not gonna harbor any resentment or stay focused on what has gone wrong or what fell apart. But also, like, I don't have to stay here. And I don't know if that means just emotionally or in that position or in that job. But the Three of Wands for me is a card that's like, I'm not just kind of debating whether or not I'm going to see what else is out there. I'm actually actively looking. Okay, she says away, hopefully. So there you go. This is in the process of being like, I'm going to see what else is on the horizon. Maybe there's something else better for me. And maybe this was like an eye-opening experience that made me kind of realize, like, I don't have to stay here. You know, there are other places that I could potentially go that I would feel like would be a better suit. That's where you're at right now. So then you have the Eight of Wands, which is about swift changing situations, quickly going in a different direction, the pace picking up, opportunities, things improving, and excitement. Look for increments of 3. So this is, increments of 8. So it would be like the 8th day of the month, 8 weeks, 8 months. I don't think it's going to take that long. I think this is kind of like an 8 weeks vibe. She says, I'm in the interview process for a job where I would make a difference. So there you go. And the other thing is that the Three of Wands is, I want to do something bigger. I want to go somewhere new. I want to have new experiences. I want to be challenged. I want adventure. And then the Eight of Wands is just like, okay, we're moving and shaking. Like the pace is just picking up very quickly. Personally, I feel, because this is also fire elements, this can be a really good time to do something that's like associated with road opening. So you could like burn like an orange candle for like a road opener to like help the process of speeding things up and like being able to make it easier for you to make this transition and kind of have clear communication and being able to, you know, make the jump. The Eight of Wands talks about a push, like an energetic push or like a shift, where once you make that jump, everything else is going to kind of follow, and then you're going to see some rapid development that's going to be happening in, I think, a number of different areas in your life. But sometimes for me, the Eight of Wands is like, we need to push. We need an energetic encouragement, you know, basically trying to kind of get things going in the right direction. So like sometimes I'll, you know, like I think of road openers association with Mercury. So, you know, obviously Wednesdays, orange candles, you can do Ganesh, you can put out keys, you can go and leave an offering at a crossroads if that's something that you want to do, to be able to clear the air, because there's still a lot of emotions tied to what has happened and feeling like kind of not pushed out, but feeling disappointed that, you know, the people who you worked with or the environment that you thought that you had or the team that you thought you had turned out to be a disappointment. But ultimately, this is what needed to happen for you to like go on and do bigger, better things. And I do feel like that you have a lot more to offer in a position, in a role, and that's why you're kind of getting pushed out, as much as I hate to say it. But ultimately, it'll be your choice. You're choosing to leave. That's what's happening. You're choosing to leave. So look for that within about, I would say, 8th day, 8 days, you know, 8 weeks, something like that. You're going to see the change. Work with fire, though, to help that process. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I love that for you. I love a new job. I've got Victoria. What's up, Victoria? She says, "I am fire." Good. Then you know how to burn it down. Victoria says, "Should I move in with my friend or should I stay where I'm at and save some money?" Well, let's take a look. So should Victoria move in with a friend or stay where they're at and save some money? Move in with the friend, save some money. Capricorn sun, Aries rising. I'm afraid of messing things up. I don't want to hold me back from change. I came up quickly, so I don't want to be impulsive. You're welcome. Moving in with a friend. Saving some money. All right, here's the deal. I think about being a Capricorn rising and what you are going to experience over the next year. Okay, so I'm thinking more like spring, summer of 2025. This is a ways away, but Mercury will retrograde through your 4th house, and you're going to be like, I need my own space, or I need to move. Saturn will go into your 4th house, and you're going to be like, I want my own defined space. Neptune will go into your 4th house. You know, I'm trying to figure out where home is. And then you're going to have some eclipses there. Okay? Oh, you're an Aries rising. Okay. Cap sun. All right. So from the perspective of Capricorn, it's about finding your own space. But as an Aries rising, it's feeling like possibly you're going to be mature enough, capable enough, responsible enough to be able to kind of hold your own. Right? I'll give you guys a rundown on the cue in just a second. You know, the cards are basically saying when you look at, you know, moving in with your friend, you know, the Empress comes up. And that this may be a very positive, enriching experience. You know, yes, you're going to have to spend money. You're going to have to invest some money. Yes, it's going to be something that maybe for you is also going to be a bit of a challenge. But I see the Empress as being like, it's going to be good for your soul. It's going to be good to have that companionship. It's going to be good to be around another woman and somebody who is feminine and independent and like strong, and somebody who can also provide you with like a lot of good like moral support, right? And teach you a lot about investing in yourself and valuing yourself, and help you kind of find like the richness in life. And then you have the the 5 of Swords coming up for living, where you're living and saving some money. And the 5 of Swords kind of feels like there is some sense of being torn, but there's also this feeling of like it comes with, you know, some kind of like heavy burden, or there is some kind of challenge being in the existing space that you've been in. And maybe you're kind of feeling like, well, even that's kind of coming to an end, or, you know, this situation doesn't really make me feel like it's great for being connected or communicating with people. Obviously, you see somebody who is picking up swords with people who are walking away from a conflict. So it can kind of say that maybe you're feeling like you're not engaging well with people that you're living with, or maybe that you don't feel like you have a lot of support or community. Maybe there's a situation where, you know, you're feeling like it's really difficult to feel like you can have a social connection with people in the home, or maybe there's some intensity in terms of like, you know, sharing information or sharing space with someone. So yes, you would be saving money, but to me, it looks like it's kind of stressful. And the Empress looks a little bit more tempting, because it looks like you'd be going into an environment where, yeah, you'd be splitting expenses and sharing with somebody, but it would be a much more beautiful, comfortable, enriching experience. And likely it would end up being something that would have a really good impact on you, and it would teach you a lot about the importance of, I think, investing in yourself, and it would be somebody who would be really beneficial for you to be around, right? Yeah, she says she's really independent. Yeah, she's kind of the boss, you know? Unlike the Queen of like the Pentacles and stuff like that, who's very much work-focused and, you know, consumed with things, the Empress embodies all of the queens. So she has a good balance between socializing, work, responsibility, finances, relationships. And I feel like this is something that would be a really good influence on you. And I think it's going to be about you becoming more of a woman. That's really what this is about, because the Empress is kind of like mom, or like, you know, like a female mentor, or somebody who we idolize, or somebody that we kind of look up to. So even if you guys are around the same age, and even if you're older, it's not really about that. It's more about the way this person carries themselves and the environment that they would end up kind of creating, and feeling like you're living like a much more comfortable, beautiful life. And I think it would be worth the investment of being around somebody like that. And if you ultimately do decide that, you know, you want to have a change down the road, you can. I mean, look, you're in Aries rising, so, you know, Mars is going to turn retrograde in your 4th house. So what's happening is Mars is already coming into shadow. So if you're already feeling like, I don't want to move and then move again, you know, Yeah, Mars going retrograde in your 4th house can definitely bring up another move. So your best bet is either moving when you see Mars in a trine with Saturn, which it's kind of in right now, or you end up waiting until Mars turns retrograde and it starts coming into a trine with Saturn, which is going to be closer to about February through about April of 2025. So what could happen then is that if you have not moved by then would be a better time to move. Or if you have moved and you can't swing it, then you would be moving back. So just kind of take that into consideration, okay? Good luck. Definitely think it's worth the investment though. All right, let me see who I've got here. You're welcome. I hope it goes well. All right, I'll give you guys the rundown with who else I have. As you know, PayPal is the absolute bane of my existence. Come on. I don't know who keeps updating PayPal, but it just like drives me absolutely insane. All right, so I'll give you guys like the rundown. And if you guys still want to get a reading, you can get in the queue. You can scan the QR code right there. Come on, come on. All right, if you hear your name, I have you. So Kelly, Miss Fogel, Rebecca, Melody, I have got all of you guys. All right, so Melody and Rebecca. What's up, Enchanted? I just now saw you. Can I cash in today or do I have to wait? No, I'll take your question. I'll put you in for my level 3. Just let me know what your question is. I'll take you right after Melody. So just let me know what your question is. All right, Melody, 29-degree Libra sun, Scorpio rising, Virgo moon. Would like to know advice for the next 7 days on how to navigate our rental property and everything that else is developing while here on site in Florida. What should I be cautious about? What might the catches be, and what will I be celebrating? All right, good question. So if you, I wonder what degree Scorpio rising you are, but 29-degree Libra sun, okay, Libra sun. I think about, I think about a lot of things. So I'm going to give you a couple really specific dates here really quick, because if you're 29 degrees, then when Mercury hits 29 degrees, when the sun hits 29 degrees, when Mars hits 29 degrees, these are going to be days that you're going to want to pay attention. So you're asking about the next week, but I'm going to give you a couple dates. Number 1, when the moon hits 29 degrees of Capricorn, so that's going to be like October 10th, that's a day to watch. That's going to be the first quarter square. It's going to square everything. And also the 11th. Those are 2 days that are kind of intense for your astrology. And then when Mercury squares Pluto on the 11th, when the sun squares Pluto on the 21st, and when Mars opposes Pluto on the 1st of November. Those are all days to really watch, okay? And, 29 degrees is a critical degree. You're a Scorpio rising, so it's supposed to be happening between your 3rd, 6th, and 9th house. So let's see what the cards say. But it's definitely about scheduling. It can be about dealing with rentals, whether you're renting to someone or you're renting from someone, because that's the 6th house. But it's a lot about communication and sometimes legal documents, right? And like also, Pluto's waking up. Pluto's going to go direct. So there's a lot of stuff kind of going on there. So let's see what the cards say for you in this order. I would say like with that aspect, between like the 3rd, 6th, and the 9th house, like the devil's in the details, the devil's in the details. I think 9 of Swords, Page of Swords, and the 4 of Cups is really kind of saying like some stress and anxiety over not asking all of the appropriate questions or not including all of the most important details, or not reading the details. Like because it's literally about information and exchanges, right? The Page of Swords. Nine of Swords is like stressing out, worrying about a situation that you have no control over. You know, I don't know what degree your ascendant is, but Pluto going back into Aquarius for all Scorpio risings means it's inevitable. There is going to be massive change going on the home front. It may not happen the day Pluto goes back into Aquarius, but it's going to happen for you guys. There is going to be a big change with a home, a property, a family member, a relocation, you know, stuff like that. And I think about how, you know, Nine of Swords talks about like stressing over things that you don't have control over. So if you know that inevitably there's going to be some kind of change happening with a living situation or with a property, or needing to have a sit down with a tenant, or, you know, if you're the tenant having to talk to, you know, your landlord, like, don't stress over things you can't change. Ask all the appropriate questions. Make sure that you have everything written down, everything documented. Clarity is really important because pages are not always like the most cautious, and sometimes they can say things or they can agree to things, but if you don't actually have them on paper, or things are not documented or signed or dated or looked over, then, you know, sometimes people are going to act like they didn't say certain things, you didn't have the conversation, or that you didn't note some of the most important points of the agreement. And then the Seven of Cups for me is like this kind of like, oh, overlooking something, you know, or maybe spinning out about all of the different potential possibilities or things that could kind of manifest from this situation. I'm not seeing like a worst case scenario playing out. So if you're like, what are we going to do about damage? Or what are we going to do if, you know, we are asked that, you know, to move, or if they don't want to stay, or like whatever. I don't see that kind of stuff. If anything, I feel like the worrying about all the potential outcomes and like fixating on everything that could happen could actually be making you more stressed out. And I just think about, you know, in this next month, that the most important thing is going to be really leaning on where planets are going through Libra, trining and making aspects basically to Jupiter in Gemini. And in your case, as a Scorpio rising, you know, 12th house Libra in the 12th means that partners might surprise you. They may go to bat for you. You know, they may say, hey, I'm going to support you, or I'm willing to work with you, or they might be willing to throw you a bone, or there's some information that comes in that's helpful. And then the trines to the 8th house could help you deal with tax issues, pay off debt. It could help you bring more money in. It could help you negotiate a deal with somebody else as well. And just thinking about that all being from the perspective of a Libra, a lot of Libra suns and a lot of Libra risings are going back and forth, revolving around if there's going to be a move or a change in a location. And so I think for you, it's like, before you make some big decision, either about where you're living or if somebody's living in your space, there is a need to, first of all, stop freaking out about all the potential scenarios, gain clarity, figure out, you know, do you want to stay here? Can you afford it? Is this the plan? Do you have the right people in place? Do you know where you would potentially be going? And like, have a plan. Instead of stressing out and wondering about what's going to play out, I would just kind of be like, this is what we're hoping to achieve. If we can't get clarity, if we can't get a deal, if we can't come to terms with something, you know, then this is how we are going to respond. Have a plan and a kind of a play by play in mind, and don't leave too much room for flexibility or interpretation or change. And if you have to note something or agree to something, it's really important, you know. Maybe financial help from a sibling. That would be Jupiter and Gemini in your 8th, because Gemini is a sibling. Jupiter can be support revolving around money. And the trines to the 12th house are whether or not, you know, you're going to communicate and speak up and talk to somebody about that, or about some kind of changes in finances. But certainly also, you know, like thinking about Saturn being the ruler of your 3rd house, and that, you know, you're going to have some planets going through Scorpio trining Saturn, is whether or not you're going to kind of communicate with a sibling, and talk to them maybe about, you know, a situation that you've got going on. But still, even the Page of Swords could be about conversations you're having with people about this, and not giving or receiving a lot of clarity, right? And kind of like, you don't want to dance around conversations with Page of Swords and the 7 of Cups, because if you leave things open for interpretation, or if you're not really clear about details with somebody else, it can end up being a situation where, like, you know, people may not be able to read through between the lines and kind of recognize what you're really trying to say or what you really need, or vice versa. So this is going to be a time of like clarity, rather than just trying to kind of understand what people need, or assuming that people understand what you're needing as well. clarity is very important with all of these cards. And a lot of the leaving some of the stress or anxiety or wondering what's next is only going to come from being very clear and not assuming and not kind of leaving things open-ended. Specifics, getting clear and committing to something. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Okay, who else do we have? So we've got Rebecca, Miss Fogel, and Kelly. You guys are all on deck. Rebecca says, hey Candace, just a 3-card reading, please. Whatever message I am meant to receive. I have a ton of Libra in my chart, rising moon, Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter. Whoa. So it's been interesting lately. I appreciate your insight as always. Yep, I can imagine all those planets going through your first house, activating things. A lot of what you say, what you think, what you need, and then changes in that department with the eclipse. So let's see what cards pop up for you, Miss Miller. What does she need to know in the midst of all of these transits in Libra? In this order. Wow. So interesting. You know, I think about, oh, sorry, Enchanted. Yes, I've got you. I'm taking next. I've got a note. I think about the eclipses in your first house, and that the eclipse is conjunct the South Node. So it's going to be about reflecting on the past, but also what you're releasing. Mercury is involved. So it is this like planet that deals with your subconscious. It does deal with your beliefs, your philosophy. And then you've got the Magician card. And I see all of this yellow and all these bright colors, which is saying like there's something that's being like reimagined or reworked, or there is some kind of like rebirth energy, like there's new energy coming in. But the Magician card is kind of saying right now, there's a lot of things that feel like they're up in the air. There's a lot of things that are still being developed. And when I think of the Magician card, I think about what we're manifesting, what we're visualizing, like as above, so below. So there can be this sense of feeling like you're still in transition, like you're still changing in some way, like there's some new version of you that's like emerging, and the Magician is kind of like, I can be whatever I want to be, or I can portray whatever I want to portray, or like I'm trying to figure out what I want to be. And it can feel like a little uncomfortable. You won't really see the full effects of this eclipse for about 5-6 months. When we get into the full moons in the spring of 2025, then you're going to start to see like the true kind of completion of how you have changed and evolved. But right now you're still kind of like very malleable. You know, there's a lot changing. You're like Play-Doh. So with the Magician card, it's saying like a lot is still is still undefined. There's still stuff that's kind of shifting. And maybe for you also, there's this feeling of like, can I trust that? Can I trust myself? You know, 7 of Swords is, am I being true to myself? Am I changing? And in a way that I'm changing, does this change my relationship with other people? Are people seeing me as someone who's unreliable? Do people trust me? You know, is my relationships with other people changing because maybe I am, you know, evolving as a person, and when you change, your relationships with other people change? Do you feel scared, insecure, you know, not sure about where you're going? Are you having trouble trusting other people? 7 of Swords is a card that's about mistrust, right? And whether or not you're being honest with yourself, or whether or not somebody's being honest with you. So I think that a lot of this is like, change is coming one way or another. And the more that you're aligning with who you're becoming, the easier this is going to be. And like, I would rather you feel 100% with yourself and have to disappoint some people than fake it till you make it and end up disappointing yourself and doing yourself a disservice, right? And like actually not being able to trust yourself. Like right now it's about being authentic, and that seems very uncomfortable. And this recognizing that in order for you to become who you're becoming, you're going to disappoint some people. There's going to be some people who are going to be like, you've changed, you're not the same, you know, like that's going to happen. And the 7 of Swords means it's about just staying in alignment with yourself and not taking it personally. I also feel like the 3 of Wands is saying like keeping things moving, not being too focused on where you've been, thinking more about where you're going, right? And like the journey, like the Three of Wands is like, we'll figure it out when we get there. Like we don't need to figure out all the details right now. So this is about being goal oriented. This is also maybe working in increments of 3 weeks, 3 months, right? But you'll see the full effects of this in about 6 months time. And I think for a lot of like Libra risings, I haven't really looked at that full moon because it won't be an eclipse. This is the last eclipse that we had in Libra, by the way. Thank God, I'm over it. I'm so over them. But when that becomes a full moon, that's going to become a full moon around April 12th, 2025 at 23 degrees. And when that happens, the ruler is Venus, and it'll be retrograde conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So for a lot of Libra risings, it's going to be, am I restoring my peace in my everyday routine? How are my habits? How's my health doing? Do I like where I'm working? Am I making changes in my health or my routine? It might also be about fixing or ironing out relationship issues with people. It's really health related because the full moon in your first house and then all of that quincunxes Saturn and Venus, you know, so it's very much health related and what is and is not healthy. And obviously the opposition will be to the sun in Aries, conjunct Chiron. Oh my God, we had a solar eclipse in conjunct Chiron in the spring. We just had a solar eclipse in Libra, and now we're going to have a full moon in Aries around the 17th of October. That's conjunct Chiron. And now we have a full moon that's going to be opposing Chiron. For Libra and Libra risings, it's about who you're attaching yourself to, who you're partnering with, who is your counselor, who's your therapist, who is your astrologer, who's your reader. Are they helping you or are they hindering you? Who you're partnering with in romantic sense too. Are they helping you or are they hindering you? And I think there's a lot of like, are you going to let other people help you heal? So if there's some issues coming up here and you're having some relationship issues, it's about being like, okay, are some people taking this personally? And am I just creating boundaries? Or like, am I actually, you know, not showing up and doing the work in relationships? And so I would say like 7th house could be counselors, therapists, astrologers, coaches, you know, people who can come in that can kind of help you work some of this stuff out or be like a mediator. Can be like really, 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 really helpful if that's something that you need help with. I think the positive is that this full moon will trine Jupiter when it comes in. So it can be good for working with a teacher or a guru, but it's still going to square Mars. And I feel like it's about being more assertive at work, right? Or like where you're having conflicts with clients or like with one-on-one relationships with people at work. So right now it's about figuring out who you're going to be. And that will play out over time. So hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, Libra risings are, yeah, we're definitely getting it from all angles right now. I'm not a fan of Mars in Cancer. I'm not crazy about this transit at all because it doesn't matter even if you're being really nice. Like we come off a little bit too aggressive and it's just, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, you know? That's what I've learned. All right, so we got Miss Fogel, we got Kelly. Over it is right. We've got Autumn and Christine. If you guys want to get a reading, get your reading. You can scan the QR code. All right, let's see what Enchanted has to say. I did not forget about you. All right, I have 2 possible buyers for my place. Do you think either one of them will go through? Let's take a look. So from what I remember, you're an Aries rising. Mars trining Saturn could be good for that. Venus also in opposition to Uranus could be an offer as well, which will happen this month. But remember, Mars is in shadow. Okay? So it's like I'm moving, I'm not moving, or I'm moving and I'm doing something temporary. These are the cards that I got for you. The 4 of Coins, the 9 of Wands, and the 8 of Wands. I feel like this is about holding out, okay? Like the 4 of Coins is saying like people who you're dealing with who are potentially making offers, like they've got the money, right? They've got the money. But when 4 of Coins comes up is like, are they willing to part with the money? You know, they're going to kind of like wheel and deal a little bit. And people being like, well, I'm going to think about making an offer. I'm going to make a lowball offer. You know, if they reject it, I'm just going to wait around and see like if the place sells. Like that's the kind of energy that you're going to get with people. So some of the best aspects you're going to want to look for is like when, you know, Venus is in a trine with Saturn, maybe when Venus opposes Uranus, that might bring an offer. And when, maybe when Venus is going through, Capricorn and it's starting to make trines to Uranus. So there's certain time periods where things will work out. I'm looking at like the next like 8 to 9 weeks. It looks like it may take a little bit longer. The 9 of Wands coming up is saying like you don't want to find yourself in a position where people are making you offers and you're like, yes, I'll take whatever I can get, you know, because the 9 of Wands, there is like this sense of like sometimes being desperate to complete something or make a change. Right? We see somebody standing there, he's all bandaged up, he's beat up, he's just like, you know what, whatever you do to help me, I'll take. No, this is about playing the long game, right? Especially knowing that, you know, I know you want to move, you got Jupiter in your 3rd house, it's squaring Saturn, so you're like, when is it going to happen? But even if it's something that happens a little bit longer, I think about how you're going to have, you know, Venus trine Saturn, Mars will trine Saturn several times throughout the transit. Even if this gets kind of drug out to the beginning of the year, when Mars begins to go retrograde, you'll have people come back or you'll reassess where you're going to be moving or how you're going to be moving. Or maybe you decide I'm going to take the house off the market and then put it back on the market, that kind of stuff. 8 of Wands tells me you will leave. You will move. That will happen. And I think about how Jupiter is going to go retrograde pretty soon in your 3rd house. And it might be about you being like, no, it's going to take a little bit longer for me to like do the damn thing. And you're finally in the last bits of like Pluto square your moon. So you've got all the transits there. You're prepped in your prime. But I kind of feel like I would not take the first offer that comes. And I also feel like that the people that you're dealing with are going to kind of lowball you a little bit, or they're going to make an offer, and if you reject it, they're going to hang around and they're going to see if it's still going to be on the market, and they may still try to kind of come back. My situation keeps changing. I never know when they're going to ask me to leave. I mean, I think that if this were me, I think that you have more time. Like, I don't really see you going anywhere. So if you're in a rental situation where it's a building that's going to be like sold, you have more time. I don't see that happening yet. And I also think about how planets are going to go through your 8th house then and trine, you know, Saturn and also trine Mars. So if anything, Venus going through Scorpio in your 8th house is like, you know, if they do decide to sell, unless you're, you know, month to month, or if there's like some kind of leasing agreement, you know, are they going to have to pay you to leave? Are they going to have to give you more notice? Probably what you'll find is it's going to get most active like right around the full moon in Cancer, because the full moon in Cancer is going to be conjunct Mars. So that is more likely to be kind of like a move energy, I would say. That's going to be closer to right around mid-January of 2025, right around the 13th. That'll be a full moon in Cancer, conjunct Mars. And I think about that being in your 4th house, and that's going to like, you know, kind of ricochet off some of the stuff in your chart. And that's probably prompting a move, right? Anyway, so you got some more time, and that kind of checks out. That's about that long, about 8 or 9 weeks up until the beginning of January. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Keep me updated. Takes a lot off my mind. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting moon, though, for cardinal placements or for Cancer and Aries, because the conjunction to the moon is like, we're doing it now. Whatever comes will come very quickly. All right, so we've got Miss Fogel, and then Kelly, you're on deck after that. Come on. You're welcome. I hope you have as much time as you need. Man, PayPal is like not wanting to cooperate tonight, guys. Sorry. don't know what is going on. So let me see. Miss Vogel, are you there? For some reason, it's not letting me read your message. So if you want to put it in the chat, that would be very, very helpful. Same thing with Kelly. If you want to put your question in the chat, that would be helpful because PayPal's not showing me your question. All right, so my mom's estate hasn't closed. Wow, that's taken a hot minute, girl. This is the last bits of Pluto in your 4th house. That's what's going on. I want to know when I will be free of this. So a lot of the Virgo that you have is in your 12th house. You are about to have a full moon in Aries in your 8th house, which will square Mars, which makes me feel like probably you're going to see some turn of events that's going to be happening quite literally right around the 17th of October. So that's about wrapping up 8th house stuff. I feel as though tapped out constantly, furious, and financially exhausted. Well, let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say. So what do we need to know about handling this estate matter? Can we get any insight or timing on this? All right, so obviously the card of the evening seems like it's the 9 of Wands, unfortunately. You know, these cards aren't going to tell you anything that you don't already know. So I'm going to see what the bottom card is. Okay, Wheel of Fortune, High Priestess. So I see this as being like, look, you know, this has been trying. 7 of Coins is saying that you've been doing everything you can, but the process has been slow and you've had little to no support. You haven't really gotten much out of it for as much as you had to put into it and kind of deal with. And like, you're the Lone Ranger here. 9 of Wands is saying like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. This has been too much for me. I'm about ready to give up. 5 of Wands talks about the pushback, not just the delays, but the pushback, the challenges that you have had in terms of trying to get other people to support you, help you, or break through some of like the limiting situations, and that you've either had to fight or you've had to push for something to ensure that like you get heard, you know? Went to court on my birthday, got to go back on the 30th. My lawyer is kind of terrible. Well, the positive though is that, you know, you are going to have some oppositions to Pluto in your 4th, which is about fighting for finally getting or receiving what's yours and overcoming some issues revolving around an estate. Like, you're gonna have to fight for it. I'm not gonna candy coat it. The 5 of Wands coming up in the final position is like, there's gonna be probably several situations where you're gonna be like, this was mishandled, this was mishandled. I should have had this taken care of. Why am I dealing with this? And like, honestly, I know that you're gonna feel like you're being a bit of a biatch about it, but you might have to be. Because the 5 of Wands is like, if you don't stir the pot, nothing's gonna get moving, you know? And like, yes, constantly pushing and no one has any urgency, but there's nothing in it for them. And the longer that, you know, the longer that this stays in limbo, the more other people are just going to be able to kind of, you know, either profit off of or have control over whatever is left. In the end, the situation will be fine. It will be fine. Because the confirmation cards that you get were the High Priestess and the Wheel of Fortune. So it's saying that if you focus more on what you're visualizing, which is everything is working out for me, everything is being taken care of, my mom supported me on the other side, I've got, you know, people on my spirit team, or I've got some kind of higher knowledge or awareness that this is all getting cleared up, I'm envisioning it, I'm seeing it, that's what's going to help. And unfortunately, so much of the transits over the next month, having a lot of planets going into Scorpio, is about dealing with grief, loss, death, inheritance, other people's money, taxes, state, you know, issues. And then the trines to Saturn is breaking through. The trines to Mars is about also breaking through. So I think about having like, you know, Mars ruling your 2nd house and Saturn ruling your 4th house of home and family. Like, a lot of these things are going to come full circle, but it's also going to be because you're showing up and you're doing your due diligence. I feel like that Wheel of Fortune card coming up is saying probably by the time you get to Sagittarius season, this is wrapped up. You know, I would assume, just looking at the cards. And also knowing that by then you will have had the full moon in Aries, which settles out debts. You will have also seen that planets have been, you know, coming into aspect with Jupiter, so things can be kind of coming back to you, right? But this still can take until the second half of November going into December. It can take that long. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. I know that this has been a very, very long process, but it looks to me like you're right at the tail end of it. So focus on the visualization of what's kind of getting cleared up. That's what's really going to help you best, you know? Yeah, that's crazy how long that's taken. I feel like I spoke to you about that like a year ago. Literally, I feel it was like a year ago. That's like crazy. Sending you lots of good vibes and clearing all that up. Kelly, if you are here. I'm trying to read the questions in PayPal, but it's not loading. So Kelly, if you're here, you might have to let me know your question. And I'm going to call final call. So if you guys want to get a reading, scan the QR code, get your reading in. We'll leave it up for another 5 minutes, and then we're going to shut it down. There she is. Hey. I've been seeing my maternal grandmother in my dreams lately, and it feels like she's trying to tell me something or warn me about something. Any insights of what that could be? Thanks. You got it. Let's take a look. What was Grandma's name? You're welcome. David got in there. I got you, David. I'm a 29-degree Leo, 6-degree Aquarius moon, 9-degree Capricorn rising. So you've got eclipses in your 4th. And you've also got Pluto coming up on your moon. And you've got Uranus square your ascendant right now. All right. Got it. All right, Kelly. Well, let's see what Grandma has to say. What do you need to be made aware of? P.S. By the way, ancestors is your 12th house. Okay. So just thinking about being a Capricorn rising, Jupiter ruling your 12th house, Jupiter's in your 6th. So it can be giving you heads up about health. It can be giving you a heads up about work changes, people at work that you can or cannot trust, things that have to do with looking out for enemies, people who are kind of like evil eye stuff. Let's see what the cards say. Could be a new pet, sure. All right, my dear. So Queen of Wands, the Fool card, and the Justice card. Do you have something going on with like a relationship? Like, are you either looking for a relationship, or are you contemplating and going back and forth, revolving around you move on or you move away from someone? Is that kind of coming up for you? I see the Queen of Wands is somebody who comes in that is powerful, creative, protective. This is also somebody who is very charged. Like, this is an energy that's more about, you know, I think of fire as like purification and protection, right? So it can be that she's kind of initiating you into like letting you know, like, hey, you know, there is going to be some kind of new beginning within a relationship. There's going to be some new development, or there's somebody new coming into your life. I'm married and we're trying to start a family. Okay. So, I mean, girl, you're gonna have a full moon in mid-November in your 5th house. It's gonna be conjunct Uranus. I mean, it could be right around the corner. But the Queen of Wands in the Fool card is basically saying like there's a new cycle that's about to begin. And so it can mean that there are messages coming in from her revolving around that, around those changes that are going to be kind of starting within a relationship pattern. I think also about like Mars going retrograde in your 7th, and that, you know, Mars has a direct kind of connection obviously to your 4th house. So it's going to be about where there's some changes going on within the home, or maybe like this feeling that like a partner is like stepping up and like taking on more responsibility and like giving you the opportunity or the space, maybe with the Fool card, to like have more freedom or focus more on the things that seem important to you right now. The Fool card can be about taking chances, and even if, you know, you're going into experiences or things that you've never done before, that You're approaching it with a sense of excitement and anticipation, not worry, not hesitation, nothing like that. And I like that the Fool card also kind of talks about that this is about new beginnings and new life and taking risks and taking chances, and that there is this aspect of companionship. So she could be saying like, I'm there to kind of help you along the way. Also, like the Fool is kind of walking along a cliff. So sometimes when we see this card, we're like, you know, we're just letting you know there could be something that's going on, but you know, you're protected in a way. So she's like basically saying that she's like protecting you and making sure that like nothing bad happens, that you're safe and secure. The Justice card also talks about balance and responsibility and cause and effect and kind of karma and law, and it can be talking a lot about things that have been changing as a result of this most recent solar eclipse for you. So it's interesting that you're a Capricorn rising, you know, the eclipses that you're having are in your 10th house, where there is this natural initiation where you're like, I'm not as focused on career right now, which is kind of crazy for Capricorn risings. I'm not as focused on career right now. You know, if I work, great. If I don't, whatever. Like, I'm more focused on my 4th house, which is my roots, my ancestry, my home, my family, the life that I'm building, and also my ancestry. And so something I would say is like, eclipses in the 4th house, we see a lot of stuff that comes up where we're learning more about our ancestry and our parents and where we come from. We're setting up home, we're figuring out kind of like the basis, our home basis, and building like a foundation for our life. But the 4th house is the womb of the natal chart. So like these eclipses that you're gonna have a full moon there, and then you're gonna have eclipses there in the spring. Like I think about when I was having those eclipses, when the North Node was there, and I was like learning a lot about like my family and like where my family comes from, and like I learned a lot about like my food intolerances and like my like ethnicity and like my genetic kind of like background from both of my parents. And I was like learning about like foods that my grandmothers may have eaten when they were pregnant with me, and like food that I'm going to be more prone to being able to tolerate, or something that I digest better. And what's weird is like I had a whole bunch of health changes happen from learning more about like the kind of foods that they may have eaten or what their preferences were based off of like their genetic background, and started eating like a bunch of like weird food. But it resonated with me, and it really was beneficial for me because I felt more connected to my family and my lineage, but also like it was a lot better on my stomach and my digestion. So I'm just telling you that because it can be helpful if you are trying to like really support your body and making sure that you're getting the nourishment that you need, or if you're trying to balance things out. That can be kind of coming up here too with the Justice card. But I don't see this as like scary. There's no warnings coming up for me. It's nothing bad. It's just kind of being like there to kind of support you and make you feel like you've got some assistance as you're going through some like really big kind of like life changes, and maybe questioning whether or not there is going to be some challenges along the way. But she's like almost trying to ensure that that path forward is like protected and that you're safe and secure, so that way you don't have to have any worries, and so maybe you don't feel alone throughout the process. She had a hell of a spice tolerance. Maybe I need to learn more about that. Hopefully that's helpful. And you'll have to keep us updated on Baby Watch. Certainly the Fool coming up can also be an indication that there can be a kid coming in or a potential baby on the way. So let us know. All right, so we've got Autumn, Christine, and David. Let's see, did anybody else pop in there? And Erica. All right, well, that was final call. So let's take Autumn, who said, can I have 1 card? Can I have 3 cards? You got it, Autumn. So this is going to be 3 cards for Autumn. All right, Autumn, this is for you. Wowzers. 5 of coins, 4 of coins, the Hierophant. Scorpio Sun, Gemini Moon, Libra Rising. General reading. Well, I think about this being such a busy time for both of those, actually all 3 of those placements, but especially the Scorpio and the Libra in you. So 5 of Coins and the 4 of Coins really kind of talks about like a reevaluation that's kind of going on right now, revolving around money, resources, and security. And I don't just say that because it's coins, because coins can be about health. It can be about the money that you're making, the resources that you have. But 5 of Coins talks about kind of being in a position where you're like, do I feel secure? Do I need more? Am I getting enough? Do I feel like I have enough support? How am I doing? And there's a lot of financial transits that are going on right now, both for Libras and for Scorpios. Okay, so Libra rising, Mercury's going through your second house of money in this next week. Venus is already there. And Venus opens us up to things. So Venus going through Scorpio can be this sense of being like, I need more, or, I realize that, I have goals for being able to get to a place where I'm a little bit further along in my resources. And the 5 of Coins talks about kind of feeling like you're out in the cold a little bit, or that you're not getting the support that you need, or maybe there's this realization that, there needs to be more financial strength and security that's kind of coming in. The 4 of Coins talks more about holding on to something. So, it's money is like it's an energy flow. It's an exchange. If you're holding on to it too tight, sometimes we don't let the flow in. And also if we're not aware of what's going out, or we're not prioritizing it, then it is harder to hold on to. So you're kind of working with both of these energies where you're like, okay, I'm either worrying about not having enough, or I'm afraid to kind of give it up. And it's maybe trying to remind you that in this next month, it's about treating things in a state of flow. And when you have the capability of holding on to stuff and saving it, or reworking something about your investments, or maybe deciding that, you're going to make an important purchase, or that you're going to be investing in yourself, that's good. But equally, if you're able to pay it forward, if you're able to kind of let some of it go, or maybe be able to give it to somebody in need, that's teaching you a really important lesson that it's going to be money in, it's going to be money out. And that's really how it works if you're a Libra rising, right? Scorpio is very fixated. So when you have Scorpio in the second house, you like to spend money, you like to have certain things, you like to be able to eat a certain way, dress a certain way, whatever. But what's happening in this next month as planets are getting ready to go through your second house is it's going to be a very powerful time for money. Mercury, Venus, the sun going through your second house, it's all going to trine Saturn. So it means that the more that you're investing in yourself, the more likelihood you're going to see that kind of positively manifest at work and also in the professional space, and you can bring more in, but you're only going to be worth what you believe you're worth. So getting out of this 5 of Coins, never going to go anywhere, nothing's going to get better, I'm not good enough kind of mentality, and really holding on to certain things that are important. I am at least worth this, I am capable enough, I am good enough. Building yourself up and really kind of coming up even with a plan to be able to kind of get ahead a little bit more seems to be the key. Now, the Hierophant coming up talks about managing a situation, getting on top of it, becoming a professional in some way, feeling like you're getting some coaching or some guidance or some support, from a professional, from a boss, from a leader. I think about Saturn in your 6th house right now as a Libra rising, and you're going to have all these planets go through your money house trine Saturn, which means if you want to have stronger resources, you might go and talk to somebody about investing. If you want to have a better kind of hold on maybe your budgeting, maybe you use an app, or you end up kind of setting up a budget with somebody and you're figuring out, how to be able to make sense of your spending habits. So that way you feel like you can be able to kind of hold on to more, or you can kind of get ahead or invest more. So there's going to be somebody or something that you're going to be dealing with or talking to that's going to help you kind of get a hold on some of these things. Mars is going through your 10th house. So this is also work, dedication, putting yourself out there, feeling very courageous and very confident. And that kind of aligning with planets in your 2nd house can also be an indication that if you're out looking for a job, if you want to get a raise, if you're wanting to kind of move up in ranks, it's very possible. It's just with Scorpio, it's saying we have to be willing to change. And with Pisces, it's about being able to visualize and kind of manifest where you're going. So I would be doing a lot of work over this next month. That's gratitude work, because a lot of these 2 particular cards are I don't have enough. I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to, I can't bring it in. And we want to get out of that mindset. We want to have a routine and something that we're practicing, that we're believing in. And for me, I have a lot of Scorpio. I'm Libra rising too. The most amazing thing that I have done in recent years has been something that the woman who did she did my feng shui for my house. She was talking to me about a gratitude ritual, and she said start it during a new moon. She's like, cut 30 pieces of paper, take a bowl, and every day, you know, take a marker and write something that you have gratitude for. And she's like, it could be something you already have. So if you're like, I'm so grateful for, you know, my successful business or my health or, you know, like my financial situation, whatever, have gratitude for that. Fold it up, you know, put it in the bowl and, you know, put it there. And then at the end of the month, pull all of those out and read them. And I was like, that sounds a little too like easy, you know? But what's really creepy is I did it and it worked. Like, and there were some very specific things in there that I asked for and it worked in some weird serendipitous ways. And I just put like an amethyst in there and I just was like, okay, I'm gonna do this every day and see what happens. And it almost like, it's so weird. I stopped doing it because I got so freaked out that it worked too well. So for those of you guys who are listening, this is like the secret sauce. And what she told me was that you can also have gratitude and appreciation for things that you have not received yet. So for me, I was kind of like, ooh, should I be saying I appreciate this? Like, is it possible? Like, do I feel even right asking the universe for this? And then the more that I thought about it, I was like, yes, I'm going to do this because the universe is going to provide, you know? In the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm going to ask for something and then I'm going to get rear-ended and get that money. That was what I was afraid of. But it ended up working out in like really strange and mysterious ways. And I got so freaked out, I stopped doing it. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because the Hierophant is kind of like that conversation that I had with my feng shui advisor, who was like, this is what you do. This is what the universe wants you to have. We have appreciation. We have gratitude. We thank the universe before it happens. And then it comes in. We're trying to get you out of this mindset that things are going to be difficult, that you don't have any help, that doors aren't opening. We want you to see what is possible and like what is coming for you. So I really strongly, having similar placements as you, recommend that you try this because I'm telling you it does work. And the sky is the limit, you know? When I first got through the first week, I was like, I'm gonna ask for little things, and I got it. And then I got to like the second week and I was like, okay, I can ask for like these things. And then I got it. And then I was like, man, I'm gonna just start asking for stuff. And it started happening and I got freaked out. And even when I went through everything like a month later, I was like, a lot of these things happen, you know? So I gotta get back on my gratitude rituals. But I hope that this gives you a little bit of like insight, and just remember that this is about kind of investing in yourself in this next month, okay? That's what this is about. Yeah, start doing this. It is so creepy, but it only works if you're consistent. That's the thing. It only works if you're consistent. All right, so we've got David. YouTube is Steve Grand Slam Man 438. Okay, gotcha. You're a Leo rising, Gemini sun, Taurus moon. All right, so 10th house moons. You're all business. And Gemini sun. So what is that? 11th house. All right, so I've accepted a job after an extended period of unemployment. I'm wondering if I can have a 3-card draw on how this job will go. Thanks. Well, exciting times, especially considering, you know, you're coming into getting ready to see a full moon in your 10th house in mid-November. Can I use any stone in the bowl? Yeah, I would just use something associated with like abundance. You know, you could use citrine. I just had a chunk of amethyst, citrine, pyrite, you know, that kind of stuff. But use whatever you want. I would say you could even use, what's the magician's stone? I always forget what it's called. That helps manifest. I can't think of what that stone is called, but I would use that too. It's this. This stuff. Labradorite, there you go. This stuff's good too for manifesting. All right, let's see what we can tell Steve for this upcoming job shift. Let's get 3 cards on how this new job will go. You're welcome. All right. Here we go. 9 of Wands, the Chariot, and the 9 of Cups. What is with this 9 of Wands? We've seen it a lot tonight. I think everybody is just kind of like, a lot of people are feeling kind of beat down, man. The astrology has been, it's been some heavy stuff. Nine of Wands in the previous position, if you're going to pull that card, at least it's in the past. So it's saying like you've gone through your trials and all of the issues and the challenges and the upheaval with being like, am I going to find a job again? Am I going to be able to work? Am I going to bring in money? Maybe you're kind of getting to the end of your rope. You're like, I'm getting concerned here. Am I ever going to find what I'm looking for? And really feeling like it's been very challenging. But when I see like the 9 and the 10 of Wands, I see it as like a situation where somebody has gone through like such an exhausting period of time where they were just about to give up and then they didn't. And then they were able to kind of complete and like overcome something. And so for the element of Wands, I think about how at first it's like, it's an adventure and there's new opportunities and it's exciting and you're going to go places, you're going to do things, and then you get burnt out. Like everybody's been on vacation for too long. Has anybody like been there? Like right when you hit a certain time period, you're like, and I'm ready to go home, And that's to me how like the suit of Wands kind of feels, that at some point you're like pushing through and you're tired. You're like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't want to have to take 2 flights and then get in a car and then like go back home. I just want to be in my bed. So when I see the 9 of Wands, it's just like, maybe you finally got to a point where you got a job, but now you're just like, man, like I've been so burnt out, stressed out about not working or like making money or like whether or not this is a place that I'm going to stay. Like, am I going to be able to make it? Right. So I would say try to put any doubt aside. Because the Chariot card is saying like you're going, not only are you going to be starting this new job, but like you're going places, right? The Chariot card can be talking about like a new location, a new destination, new goals that are coming up, feeling more emotionally connected, feeling more enthusiastic, being able to use your intuition more and kind of trusting yourself, especially when it comes to the direction where you're going with your career. Obviously with the Chariot card, there is also this like need to like really pay attention because it's about getting all your ducks in a row, because sometimes it can be about having one of the 2 horses that are not quite on track. And, it can be talking about trying to find balance, emotional, mental, physical balance before getting back into work. This is also about trusting in your intuition. I mean, he's got a canopy with stars above him. So this talks about kind of like the person who's like manning the chariot, using their intuition, also being able to really focus on the guidance that they're receiving, and whether that's through readings, if that's through meditation, if that's through tarot, something that's more kind of metaphysical that is directing them in where they're going and feeling like this is an alignment. Knowing that you're going to have a full moon in your 10th house pretty soon as a Leo rising is about big changes revolving around your career and like evolving and like moving into like new partnerships. So I think it's timely. Also, I think about how, this is talking about Cancer and like the full moon. So this next month, you're going to have a full moon that's going to be in your 12th house. So it can mean that there is like some anxiety maybe, or some concerns or some stress or some worries revolving around whether or not, like you're going to adapt well to like making this change, kind of coming into a new job. But the Chariot does talk about getting to where you need to go, that you're going to find the path, you're going to get there, you're going to stay the path, even if it's going to be a process, but it's definitely going to be something that's going to happen. You just really need to kind of trust that everything was supposed to happen in like divine timing. Then we have the 9 of Cups, which for me, obviously is one of the better cards in the deck. If somebody asks me a question and they say, am I going to get the job? Am I going to be successful in this project? Will the relationship move forward? The 9 of Cups is like, look, focus on what you're wishing for, right? What is your ultimate outcome? What is going to make you the happiest? What is going to make you feel the most fulfilled? Focus on that, because the 9 of Cups is saying you will get what you're asking for. You will have your wish granted. I almost kind of feel like you were so specific about what you wanted with your job change or with the direction you were going in your career, and whether that was the salary, the location, the position. Maybe it was going to be about ultimately, finding a position with a company that you feel like you align with and that there's room to grow. And you got to a point where you were like, I'm not going to settle anymore. And I don't want to like work with bullshit people where it's not going to make me feel like I'm either making a purpose or really kind of in the position that I'm meant to be in. And so I think that like good things come to those who wait, obviously, because you really trust your vision and your intuition with where you were going, and also recognizing that it needed to be a job that was going to help you evolve, not just in a professional level. Like that Taurus moon in you really wants that. But this is also about like, am I going to be in a job that's going to allow me to be able to travel? Is it going to allow me to be able to like buy a house? Is it going to afford the freedom to be able to have more security and feel like I can kind of put down roots? Like that's what you were holding out for, right? And so the Nine of Cups is saying, because you trusted in that and you were so clear about what your vision was, and even though you were feeling beat down and kind of concerned, you held true to that. So the Nine of Cups is saying now you're being rewarded because you were like, no, it has to be this or better. It has to be this or better. It has to be this or better, right? Master manifester, definitely. Taurus moon's in the 10th. You guys are just like a dog with a bone when it comes to like getting the best of the best when it comes to your work, but also feeling very emotionally tied to it. So that makes sense, the Chariot coming up. Anyway, there is still some big shocks and surprises, like that mid-November full moon that's like kind of like, okay, I'm in it, I'm in the driver's seat. Now we're seeing what it's like to be in this position and have the responsibility and be doing all of these things. But I think that it's going to be very rewarding, and I think that you're going to be glad that you held out, because to me it looks like that there's a lot of room to grow within this position. And also I think you're going to be surprised where this is going to take you. And I don't know if that means that it's going to be like scaling up in a company, or if you're going to be traveling for work or whatever. But being a Leo rising, there is so much emphasis in this next year or two revolving around not just making more money, but it could be about traveling. It could be about working with new teams. Like that can be stuff that can kind of come up. So it wouldn't surprise me if you see some of that with like the Chariot and the Nine of Cups coming up. Okay, so good on you for like sticking it out and staying the path, and enjoy your little bit of free time left before you get back into working. Looks like we've got Erica. Let's see if it will let me sign in. All right, Erica says, I want to know the potential for a 5-month-old dating relationship I'm in now. Already had massive endings in a long-term 27-year marriage in March of this year. Feeling super anxious. August 26, 74. What's your sun, moon, and rising? Steve says, shots for everyone once I can afford them. You got it, Steve. All right, so let's see what we can tell Erica. She is out of a 27-year marriage. She's dating somebody. They've been kind of seeing each other for 5 months, and she's like, what is going on? Feeling very anxious. Obviously, being born at the end of August, you're a Virgo, so you're having eclipses in Pisces. So that being your opposite sign, you're like, where are things going? It's a foreshadowing of more of that in the spring of next year. Just full disclosure, right? I don't even know your rising or your moon sign, but that's what that means. So let's take a look. Let's see. Whenever I get this card, it's like the tarot is giving me like the green light to tell you what I have to say. Okay, so the High Priestess is about your intuition and inner knowing. Okay. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Where was it? I'm not seeing it, so I'm gonna have to just go off of what the cards are saying, because I'm not gonna scroll through all the way through that. But basically, the High Priestess coming up is a card that's about trusting your intuition, but it's more than that. It's about saying less and listening more, right? Like the High Priestess is about showing up in the situation and being like, I'm just going to assess what's going on. I'm not going to make any judgments. I'm going to take it all in, and I'm going to let my intuition tell me what's up. And this is a darker card. Like the High Priestess is about similar to the moon, which is your confirmation card, which is saying the things that your subconscious is telling you, what's happening in the dark, what's coming up during the lunar phases, fears, insecurities, things like that are kind of playing out. I mean, I think the High Priestess coming up for you being a Virgo is basically saying, like, you know, this is coming to terms with the fact that as a Virgo, you attract people who are going to be more Pisces-like. They are going to be having a hidden side of themselves. There can be a spiritual side of them, but there can also be a side of them that's kind of like a little crazy or unstable, right? Or unsure or changeable. All right, so you're Virgo sun and you're a Leo rising with a Sag moon. So I think about being a Leo rising then with like Mars going retrograde, and that's perfect. That's going to happen at the end of the year. And it's about like turning inward and like reflecting on like your own inner journey. And how you feel and your emotions in relation to a partner that's going through a change, because you're going to oppose Pluto in your 7th house. The High Priestess in the moon card is saying, like, pay attention to the lunar cycles, whether this is like new moons, full moons, eclipses. Obviously eclipse season, you know, just finally ended. But you had an eclipse as a Virgo sun in Pisces, which is very relational, but it was in your 8th house, which means secrets being exposed, you know, in relationships, vulnerabilities, things coming up revolving around finances, intimacy, sex, that kind of stuff. So it's fascinating that that's coming up in part of your chart that is very much about kind of your subconscious, and it can also be about traumas and insecurity. And then you have the High Priestess with the moon. Almost in a way, it's like the card's saying, like, the things that are being unveiled to you around these lunar transits are coming up to kind of show you the things that you may not see very clearly with your own eyes, right? And if you are a Leo rising, I'm telling you right now that the Mars retrograde, December through February in opposition to Pluto, is going to be about whether or not you're backing down or backing away or taking a step back to go and heal and work on something and taking space from another person. Intuitively, also, you know, the High Priestess in the moon card means that it might be about doing some clearing, some cleansing, some detaching, clearing out some karma, or maybe doing some baths or some soaking or some like Reiki healing, or, you know, some meditation or past life regression where you're clearing stuff out. That's really good for Leo risings because Mars is going to go into your 12th house. So you could go and do like shamanic healing. There could be soul retrieval work that you could do. There could be cord cutting. And gaining clarity on yourself and kind of separating yourself from relationships that are making it really difficult for you to see clearly. When you see some really strong transits going on either with, I would say Saturn or Uranus, that's when you're going to see some bigger changes to relationships because those two planets rule your 7th house since you are a Leo rising. But you're not going to see a lot of that stuff happen until about spring of next year. So this isn't me saying you can't have a relationship, you can, but you're going to see with the oppositions between Mars and Pluto, somebody else is reluctant to change, so you're going to go and work on yourself. And that'll be in play like end of October into November, you know, beginning of January. You'll see that again in April of next year. And then when things start kind of cooling off a little bit, when Mars and Pluto are no longer opposing, perhaps maybe then relationships get a little bit easier for you. And the 7th house where you're having the Mars-Pluto opposition, it is about wrapping things up revolving around the marriage to the first husband, right? So it can also mean like, have you healed those issues? Have you really kind of cut that off? Are you guys done? Are you trying to take space? Are you trying to define your life outside of that? What would potentially be a second husband or a second significant relationship would be your 9th house. So for you, that will be Sagittarius, right? Because that's the 9th house for, not Sagittarius, sorry, Leo. So Aries, for a Leo rising, it'll be Aries in your 9th house. So you'll have retrogrades and eclipses there in the spring. So in my mind, right now is the time to get quiet. And it's about reflecting and coming to terms with things that you know are certain truths that are coming up for you. They're just now being revealed, and like acknowledging them and admitting them, and like knowing that you can trust your gut if you're feeling like something is off, and consciously and willingly taking time to be alone from relationships to process things. Venus and Leo in the 12th house, past life regeneration, regression on the 2nd, but couldn't hypnotize me. So a time to go back to be hypnotized will be when Mars is going to retrograde back into Cancer. You may want to try that again when like Mars is coming into a trine with Saturn. So you could probably do that like February, March-ish of next year. That might be a better time to kind of try. It hasn't been bad transits recently. Not everybody can do it. And even if it's not past life regression, you could do some kind of soul retrieval work, some shamanic work, some kind of Reiki work. Those things would be helpful as well, because I think that this is a really good time throughout these transits to kind of remove some of that stuff that's been kind of hanging around in the subconscious, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. What's up, Christine? I'll answer your question if you're still here. I'll add you to my list. It looks like you're level 3. Christine says, hi, my question, will I travel overseas, San Diego, 7/12 of November? Will it be a smooth trip? Pisces rising, Cap Sun, Gemini moon. Well, if you're Pisces rising, you got planets going through your 9th house. So that's definitely good for traveling. So you would be traveling during a decent time with the astrology. 7th through the 12th of November. You picked one hell of a time to come to the United States. Right after what's supposed to be our election. So let's see what the cards say for you. Did you know that's what was going on? I mean, knowing that you've got planets going through your 9th house in Scorpio, which can be about foreign travel, and it's making aspects to your 1st house where there's Saturn and Neptune, in theory should be fine. But probably one of the craziest astrology periods of the year is going to be the end of October through about mid-November, because Mars and Pluto are going to oppose. So just kind of thinking about that, that's definitely going to be bringing up themes revolving around where you're going, what you're doing, who you know. So if you're traveling alone, are you going to be alone the whole time, or is there going to be other people that you're going to be meeting? Seven of Cups. The Magician and the 3 of Swords. So for me, this looks like disappointment if you don't have things properly kind of planned out, right? And some disappointment. Okay, so traveling on your own. So 7 of Cups is like not knowing where you're going, what you're doing, what you have situated. So obviously with the 7 of Cups, it's like, do you know where you're staying? Do you have accommodations? Do you have that taken care of, right? That seems to be very important. I also feel like the 7 of Cups is about like being in environments or areas that you're not familiar with, right? So you say that you're going to San Diego. Is that what you said you're doing? Sorry, I'm just kind of reading this again. We'll travel to San Diego. Okay, right. So if you're staying in areas, make sure you stay in areas that you know, okay? And I'm not just saying this, like I'm lived in California for most of my life, or at least half of my life, and I'm very familiar with San Diego. For the most part, it's a pretty safe area if you have not been there already. But I will tell you, it's also like very close to the border, all right? So I have friends who have been living there for the last 3 years, and they're definitely telling me that there's a lot more challenges going on revolving around like immigration and like being so close to that area. So I think with 7 of Cups and the Magician card coming up, it's like literally saying like, if you're going and you're visiting a place that you're not familiar with, it's just be aware of your surroundings. If you're meeting people, the Magician can be like, oh, somebody you meet and you're like kind of taking up with them. Like, just be mindful that with the Magician, not everything is what it appears, So sometimes it can be like a car salesman, sometimes it can be a scammer, sometimes it can be somebody who seems like really nice and really charming, and then you kind of realize like, whoa, my purse is missing, or like something got stolen. And I'm not saying that to scare you, but like there is some illusion and kind of like mysterious happenings coming up with the Magician card and the 7 of Cups. So it's like, know where you're staying, know where your things are. If you're dealing with people who obviously you don't know or that you're unfamiliar with, especially if there is drinking involved, I would be really careful, because this is saying that you may not be completely aware of your surroundings or, know the people who you're kind of dealing with. The 3 of Swords comes up. So it does also kind of talk about like this being more in like an emotional connection in meeting somebody, and maybe you end up meeting somebody who you're like, oh, I met this really interesting person and they're really charming and everything went great. And then you're kind of like, oh, you know, I had to leave or I had to come home and I thought we were going to keep talking. And then like, there was like some kind of disappointment or like disconnection. So that could be more of what it's saying as well. But any disappointment that comes, I think, is going to be primarily from, you know, not having things planned out. So as long as you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, I think you will be fine. I also feel like the Magician card coming up is saying like the trip is going to be what you make of it. You know, if you do have to make some changes or you have to make some alterations to things, it'll be fine. I think the fact that, you know, yeah, you're going to California, but you're not going to be in like a major city. I'm not really worried about it. Just know that, yeah, things are going to be a little heated, I would assume, in the country right around that time. But does that mean that life doesn't go on? No, life will go on. And with transits going through your 9th house, making trines to both Saturn and Neptune, as well as Mars in your 5th house, going places, you know, being where there's going to be art and culture and creativity. And the 5th house can be bars, casinos, galleries, you know, it can be theaters, things like that. It's going to be really putting an emphasis on going and traveling and going places where you're going to see like art and culture and entertainment. So just be mindful of like maybe any attachment that you have on any American boys that you're dealing with. They may be a bit of like a magician. They might kind of come and go a little bit. Anyway, I hope that that's helpful. I hope that your trip goes well. And definitely, if you're gonna be there, number one, go to the gas lamp quarter. That's like the older part of San Diego. One of America's most well-known haunted houses is down there. I believe it's the Whaley House. You can go and take a tour. Obviously, you know, October, November is a good time to do that. They'll take you all through the house and they'll talk about the history and they'll take you upstairs where there's like a theater and the whole place is like super creepy haunted. When I was there, I saw a little ghost dog when I was in there. People talk about seeing stuff in the front living room. The downstairs was originally also used as like the town courthouse and jury. So that's kind of cool. And they had hangings in the backyard. The whole house is super spooky. It's like haunted. So if you're into that, it's really cool to go and see like around October, November. There is also right down the street, there is a really awesome Mexican restaurant that's on the same main drag. It's like right across the street down to the left. And there is like all of these women outside making fresh corn tortillas and flour tortillas, and they hand them out to you while you're waiting for your food. Best Mexican restaurant ever. I can't remember the name of it, but you can't miss it because they're outside handing out tortillas. Get Mexican food there. Their drinks are really good. And there is an awesome ice cream shop right across the street. And obviously the shopping and all like the other stuff all around the gas lamp quarter is pretty cool. I think that you might potentially like that. So check it out. Anyway, good luck on your trip. I will be back next week. We're going to be doing astrology next Friday. And that's going to be just before the full moon in Aries that we're going to have. If you guys have not already given me a thumbs up on this video, please do. Make sure you click the bell button below, subscribe to the channel. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. If you want to learn tarot or astrology from me, I teach that. So you guys can check out my courses on my website. Head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. You guys can see all of my webinars. I've got stuff on the most recent eclipses. I've got beginners tarot and astrology courses. We've also got lots of fun stuff coming up soon, some calendars and some other things that I'm putting together. So please do sign up for my newsletter and subscribe to the channel if you guys would like to get a reading in the future. We're generally here at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Obviously, that is, 6 o'clock Central time. So that is 4 p.m. Pacific, and that is going to be 7 p.m. Eastern. We always post it in the community tab, so if you guys want to get a reading next week, you can check it out, and you can consider joining my memberships if you would like to be a part of my monthly memberships and support me. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see all of you guys back here on Sunday for Astro Weather. Until next time, take care.